Good morning, third grade. Today you have lesson 10 and it is money, but we're just focusing today on dimes, nickels, and pennies. So hopefully this is a review, which is why it's on a video. When combining coins, always begin with the coin with the greatest value. And the reason for that is it is a lot easier to count on, count up with smaller amounts. So like for today especially, it's going to be really easy to count by tens. After you count by tens, well, nickels, if you have 2 5s, let's say you have 2 nickels, that is another 10. So you could count your tens, your dimes, but then also like, oh, I see 2 nickels, I'm going to make that another 10. So if I'm like 10, 20, 30, and then I get to here, I'm like, oh, well, that's just 40. But counting by 5, counting up 5 more, is a lot easier than starting with a weird number. Like if I had 3 pennies plus the 2 nickels, that's 13. Well, counting up from 13 is not nearly as easy as counting 10, 20, 30. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with today, is just reviewing those. So first one, that is penny, pretty easy to notice because it says 1 cent. Okay, so it's also the only one that's a different color. So how many do you have? 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 cents. Okay, this next one is a little trickier to see. Also, this person, the man on this one, looks way different than in real life. Okay, but if you are looking at the coins, the one that has the building on the back is the nickel. The dime has the like torch and leaves, and then the quarter that we won't do today has the eagle. So the one with the building is the nickel. So if I am going to write counting by 5s, I just start 5, 10, 15, 20, because there's 4 of them, so 20 cents. Okay. All right, now I just said that the one with the torch is a dime, so we just skip count by tens. 10, 20, 20 cents. All right, now you have them where they're all mixed up. So first, start with the ones that are the biggest amount. So which one was the biggest amount? The dime. And what does the dime look like if we look up at the top? It's the one with the torch. Okay, so I'm going to find all the torches and look at what the face looks like. Okay, it's the small one. So 10, 20, 30. Then I'm going to pause and count up by 5. 35. Then 36, 37, 38. 38 cents. Okay, do the same thing. This time we have only 1 10, but then remember how I said that 2 5s makes a 10? So you could put these two together and say 20. If that confuses you, then after 10 you have 15 and 20, but either way we got to 20. Then this one makes 25, 26, 26 cents. All right, you guys have been doing really great with this next section. Round to the nearest 10. So if we round to the nearest 10, it means that our tens place is the one that might change. Now, these last 3 are tricky because they have 100. Well, I'm going to give you a big hint. The 100 will stay the same. If we're rounding to the nearest 10, the 100 spot stays the same. So I can already right now write my hundreds place in. So I'm going to have you do A and you do B. I'm going to go over C, D, and E with you since those are the trickier ones. Okay? All right, so I am thinking about 46. when I count by tens, I start at 40, 41, 42, 43, and I go up till 50. 46 is in between those two. So will 46 round down to 40 or up to 50? It rounds up to 50. So 146 rounds up to 150. The hundreds place stays there. All right, now we have 200 gets to stay. So now I have a 1 in the tens place. And so that means if it was a 0, it'd be 10 or 20. 11 comes in between 10 and 20. Okay, so if it's 1 now in the ones place, does that round down to 10 or up to 20? It rounds down to 10. So 211 rounds down to 210. Okay, 455. I hear 50 as one of my tens because 455. And if I count up after that, I'd get to 60. The number 55 comes in between 50 and 60. And 5 is right in the middle. So if you're riding your bike up to the top of the hill, you get to the top. Are you going to allow yourself to go backwards down to 50? Or are you going to push yourself over the edge so you can roll to the 60? Yeah, you're going to. 5 goes to the 60. So 460. Okay, now on this next one, we can't just write our hundreds because this one actually wants us to round to the nearest 100. So that means all of our answers are either going to be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, or 1,000. Okay, when it says round to the nearest 100, our answer has to be 100 of some kind. Okay, so that means they're going to have 2 zeros at the end. So when we're rounding to the nearest 100, this is the number that might change. We have to look at this number. Does the 5 make the 2 go down to 2 or up to 3? It goes up to 3. 250 comes between 200 and 300, but it rounds up to 300. Okay, here I'm looking at the 3, if it's going to be 300 or if it's going to be 400. My 6 determines that. So 6 makes it round up. If it's in between right here, I'm going to round up to 400. Okay, 420. Where does 420 go? Well, 420 is after the 400. Okay, but am I going to, when I look at the 2, am I going to round down to the 400 or up to the 500? Hopefully you said down to the 400. Okay, then 630. Here's where 630 would be. It's in between 600 and 700. Does it round down to 600 or up to 700? Down to 600. And then 580. 580 would be right around here between 500 and 600. But if I look at the 8, does the 8 round down or up? It rounds up to the 600. Okay. Number 4, I would like you to do on your own. If you need, use your interactive notebook. But just remember, start trying to do as many of these by yourself as you can without your notebook because we cannot use the notebooks on our quizzes or on our tests. On the back side is just learning how to write money amounts. A lot of times you've written money like this so far with a cents sign. You never ever use both a dollar sign and a cent sign in the same problem. So we're going to start learning to use a decimal point and a dollar sign. Use a decimal point to separate the dollars and the cents. There is only ever 2 place values in cents because once you get to 100 cents, 100 cents equals $1. 100 cents equals $1. And it looks like even 100. I just put the decimal and the dollar point. So there's only ever two numbers after the decimal point. Okay, the dollar sign is written to the left of the money in front of the dollars. And so this amount would be read as $26.53. When you get to the decimal, you say and. Okay, so on number 5, it says write these numbers as money amounts. So I go 2 decimals over, 1, 2, and I put my decimal there. Then in front of the dollars, I put my dollar sign. This amount would be read as $29.52. All right, this one, 1 spot, 2 spots, put my decimal. Add the dollar sign. Also, the dollar sign can be 1 line or it can be 2 lines. You have probably seen it both ways. Either one is okay with me. But that amount on B is read as $6.85. Okay, this one, 1 spot, 2 spots, put your decimal, add your dollar sign, and you have $12.02. There's no tens, there's a 0 there, so that number is just 2 cents. But notice, we had to put a 0 there to show 2 cents. If it was just written like this, that looks like $12.20, because remember, there has to be 2 decimals, and if there's not a number, or there has to be 2 numbers after the decimal, and if there's not, then that extra spot is assumed to be a 0. Well, now that changes it to 20 instead of 2, okay? So make sure that you keep your zeros where they're supposed to be. All right, this next one just has extra numbers, but we still only use 2 spots. Then we put our decimal. Our dollar sign is at the beginning. So this amount is $378.29. Okay, and the last one, 1 spot, 2 spots, put your decimal, $4.27. This next section is a little trickier because it says use a dollar sign and a decimal point to write these amounts of cents. We are no longer doing this, okay? Nope. We need to do it as a dollar sign and a decimal. So we'll put our dollar sign and a decimal. Most of the time, I want you to do a 0 decimal to show that there's no dollars. This doesn't give you very much room. So today is acceptable to just do dollar sign and decimal, but I need to be able to see both of them. So 29 cents, 30 cents. Please do that for the rest of them. Number 7, look carefully. When you have only pennies, you must put a 0 after the decimal point. So when it's 5 cents, look, it's only 5 cents. But they had to put the 0 in the tens to show that there are no tens. There are no dimes in 5 cents. There's only 5 pennies. Okay? If it was like this, like I just showed you up above, that would assumably be 50 cents. And it's not 50. Okay? So for 7 cents, put your dollar sign, your decimal. In 7 cents, I don't have any dimes. I just have 7 pennies or a nickel and 2 pennies. But I don't get to 10 yet, so I can't put anything in the tens. I'm only in my ones place. For my 9 cents, I have my dollar sign, my decimal. 9 cents is a single digit, so I need a 0, then the 9. Go ahead and do that for the last 2. Then 8 and 9 are practices, so go ahead and do those to practice adding, practice subtracting, and then solve your story problem. Isabella has 65 cents. She gave 50 cents to her Sunday school offering. How many cents does she have left? All right, the rest of the time is yours to work. Good luck, and please raise your hand if you have any questions.